Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Texans Pro. Today, of course, we're back with Drew. We're going to today just go over the Jacksonville game. Not really anything to preview this week because the Texans are going to be on their bye, but definitely an interesting game. Probably the most interesting, non-interesting game on the Texans schedule this year because of what happened with Azeez Al-Shaair. And, and honestly, we'll get to talk about it, obviously, but there were, especially on the offensive line, there were improvements. This was the best offensive line game of the season. And granted, Jacksonville's not an amazing pass rush team. They have good pass rushers, but pressure rate, they're not the highest or anything. But I want to say the Texans' pressure rate this week was like a 21%. And before this week, their best one was like 31. So big improvement on the front this week. And, you could see it later in the game, especially. I thought the second half was better for the offense, which honestly we haven't seen all year. So I'll take that. But as the game settled down, you could kind of see it's kind of been the case the last couple of weeks. You saw CJ Stroud kind of settle in. I thought there were still some misses. Maybe I thought the deep ball, the tank was unfortunate. It should have been pass interference, but it was unfortunate.
I can't believe that. Still, honestly.
And I think Stroud threw it a little bit late, but he looked off a safety and then threw it. And so really, I'm not going to be mad at that because it was obvious pass interference.
Yeah, my thing is so if that's obviously an uncatchable ball, or it was obviously an underthrown ball. So when did they start letting defenses get away with that because underthrown ball? Because I feel like the Texans have been penalized when quarterbacks underthrow balls
all the time
at their guys. So why are they now just? Because I think it's a great rule. I think you should punish the quarterback for
but I don't know when they changed it. Yeah.
Right, but why are they not, again, like what Nick Caserio said, the consistency in the league with their rulings is not consistent, and it's disappointing and embarrassing.
Yeah, I don't know when that changed because it did feel like you used to always see deep balls that would get underthrown, and every time you pass interference because, the DB would be turned around, and then they're coming back to the ball. And honestly, for the most part, I think the league still calls it like that. They just missed that one. I don't know how that was missed. Like you said, it was a little bit underthrown, but the ball was also thrown 70 yards. So it's also.
Yeah, it kind of balances out a little bit, but it was
you're
underthrown.
You're it wasn't one of those where the quarterback tries to underthrow it to get a pass interference. He just it's kind of a muddy pocket. He threw it as far as he could in that situation, I think, and it was just
he literally did because that was 66 yards, and the longest he had thrown last year was 61 yards in the air. And that ball went 66 yards in the air.
Yeah.
So that was the longest pass he had ever thrown in his NFL career. But it was just clearly, obviously, technically underthrown. So I think they're just
the only thing that I will say for me with Stroud's deep ball sometimes is I feel like they're not necessarily underthrown. He puts too much air on them though. That ball floated for way too long, and he did it against in the Detroit game with the pick. Throw it more. If he throws those more on a line, which I'm sure that's a little change in that situation. And I don't know if in this situation, maybe he put too much air on it because he couldn't really step into the throw that well. The pocket was kind of messy. So that might be why. But that's the only complaint that I have about that throw is that, maybe try to not put as much air on it. And then the defender probably can't even get there. So, but either way, it should have been pass interference. We should have gotten the ball in the 3 or the 4, would have scored on that drive. But as a whole, I thought Stroud played a fine game. He didn't make any super amazing throws. He did some really good things out of structure, I thought. He had that throw to Nico on the sideline. He had the one to Mechie, which was a pretty good play. But as a whole, he just didn't put the ball in harm's way, which is, an improvement from the last couple of weeks where there were a lot of turnover-worthy plays. And the Texans ran the ball well, which, definitely improvement. And we can get into it, but we were talking about showing some stats. The Texans' early down offense this week was actually pretty good, which is, not something that they've been good at. So definitely exciting to see. And then defensively, I was a little bit frustrated with the fourth quarter defensively, but as a whole, we can get into that. But the fourth quarter defensively was really frustrating. But as a whole, the defense played well. Stingley had a good game. We can talk about this. We're just gonna get Jeff Okudah should not play snaps for this football team. Okay, I don't hate the idea of moving Lassiter inside while Petrie's healthy. It's a fine idea, but The problem is that when Okuda's your other corner, you can't really do it. And you kind of saw it later in this game. They kind of brought Miles Bryant in to play a little bit of the slot when Ward. So Jeff Okuda just can't really do it. I mean, I wish he could because I do think there's good tools with Jeff Okuda. He's just not a very good football player, unfortunately. But looking forward, it will be nice when they actually get a third cornerback that can play that role, and then you can do that with Lassiter. Because obviously they have the idea of it, but it's just not effective.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a good off-season talking point there because you can re-sign Petrie to an extension, and keep him in the nickel. There's also times where you could put Kamari in the star role, like they really did try. Remember, they also tried to put Okuda in the nickel. That didn't work, and that's because as we've kind of been hearing about recently, the Texans want to play man coverage when Kamari Lassiter and Stingley are both on the field, but they don't play as much man coverage when they're both not on the field, like we saw with the Lassiter injury. You saw lots of zone coverage by the Texans. So clearly, the Texans defense isn't like fully built, if you will. So like you're going to see guys like Murray and Ward get pushed out down the line, but the core is there. Like you have the Petrie, you have. Well, we'll see Harris back soon, hopefully. Against the Dolphins. Stingley, Lassiter, Anderson, other guys like that. But there's little tweaks that they can make so that their identity and they're still going to mix up coverages, but it'll still be very clear that they're kind of running man coverage, match coverage, maybe a little bit more cover 3 because they have these great athletes. So it's great, but it's just not ready yet.
Yeah, and like you talked about, there's definitely a core defensively. There's a core on both sides that you have to build around. Yeah. But defensively, you have like you said, you got Stingley, Lassiter, Petrie, so in the secondary, Bullock, who's played really well as a rookie. And then you want to talk about the linebacker room. Aziz is 27, 28, I think. Like he's going to be here for a while. Like I said, Christian Harris and Toa. I'm frustrated with him in coverage a lot of the time, but I think
great run.
I do think replacement level. I think he's a good backup linebacker. He shouldn't have to play as much as he does, and he won't have to. But I do like him as a third linebacker.
I think the idea was just kind of, they're gonna have Toa, Harris, and Aziz, but then you can either run 4-3 for our first thing down, and then obviously you take Toa off the field on third down, regardless.
Which they haven't been able to do,
which they just haven't been able to do it. But you see how good of a run stopper Henry Toa.
Yeah, he's a great run defender. Honestly, he would be. The problem is that he fits into the Aziz Al-Shahir role better than he does the Harris role, but he's having to play this Harris type role because Harris is missing games, and they've tried to play Devin White in it, and he's been okay. He's been better than I expected, but there's just not. Devin White has kind of the same issues that Toa does, where in coverage he doesn't find routes behind him. He doesn't. So there's just. Once Christian Harris is back, we won't really be talking about Toa's struggles anywhere near as much because you won't see him out there having to cover a lot. He's just out there to defend the run, which he's awesome at. He's a great run defender.
Since we're talking about linebackers, I did feel like some people were saying that Toa and Harris couldn't be on the field at the same time. I don't really feel that way because I don't agree with that. To me, there's a lot of positionless players, especially on defense. And Henry Toa is one of those guys where you kind of just want to have on the field in case they run the ball. And find ways to hide his coverage weakness because Christian Harris is so good at covering. It's as simple as you're really just getting Toa maybe in the flats or have his eyes on the running back. There's simple things that you can do there. And then, Harris explodes off the ball against the run. Toa knifes his way to stuff the run. You need those guys on the field on all 3 downs, but like you said, it feels like Toa is just being asked to do a little bit too much, so they can adjust with that. Sure. Hopefully Harris is healthy. Hopefully there might be a little bit of rust, but I think everyone can kind of understand that because we've seen how good Harris can be. Now we've also seen how bad Harris can be because it was rookie year. Remember the first couple weeks of last year too.
Oh, he was brutal.
That was really, really rough. First couple of weeks last year.
Well, and Aaron Wilson was talking about it when his in his article about how he probably will be activated after the bye. He may not even play the first week against Miami. It take a little bit for him to get back, but the important thing is that he's gonna be back at some point. And And honestly, I thought Neville Hewitt did a pretty good job filling in. When Aziz
he's always done a nice job against the run. I feel like
yeah.
It's just not a guy you can, because if he's on the field in coverage, teams can genuinely exploit him because he's a super stiff dude. I mean, you see the bulk in him, you see how stiff his hips are. If you isolate your running back on him, if you find a way to get your slot receiver on him, it's over. You can't really allow that to happen. But we could also see, maybe some more Jeff Okudah. They're going to try to put more cornerbacks on the field. Like that's a possibility. But this is definitely Jeff Okudah's last straw by the time of the next game, because like we said, they moved him from the slot. Now they're moving to outside so that Kamari can play in the star role. So the Dolphins game could be trial and error a little bit, because we know they have to beat the Chiefs and the Ravens to see if they want to do anything this season. So a little bit of trial and error for the next game. And I hope that Harris plays just a little bit too, so they can have different packages and just kind of figure it out. And hopefully also Aziz will only be out 2 games instead of 3, because 3, it just seems a little bit ridiculous.
We can get into that, but that seems pretty crazy to me if they stick with 3 games. I mean, and we talked about this, but honestly, like, I didn't hate the penalty when it happened. And I still don't hate it either. And obviously we can talk about it, but I don't want Trevor Lawrence to be injured, right? Like that, get that out of the way. I don't want the guy to be hurt, but I also don't think Aziz is trying to hurt him. And I've had an issue. I've talked about it on here. I've had an issue with the fact that I feel like the Texans have been kind of soft this year outside of a couple guys. And if you want to send a message, there you go, right? Like, you want to try to slide late against the Texans, you want to try to cheat extra yards, like, we're not going to have that. And I don't have an issue with that type of penalty. 3 games is pretty crazy, though. I mean,
whole situation is just, like what Casario said with the other situations, the actual guy, Runyon, who is giving the suspension essentially, is just an absolutely dirty player. And then the amount of people saying that Aziz should be suspended or for a year or whatever, a season. How could you not want Aziz Al-Shaair on your team? Remember, you don't know, especially if you're a fan of another team, you have no idea. You don't know anything about Aziz Al-Shaair other than he punched a dude, he hit Brady in the neck, he did what he did to Trevor Lawrence. He is a passionate football player. Remember, he's a team captain. And like Casario said, he was voted team captain after being there for 4 months. And yes, Diggs was too. But that's because the Texans and everyone in that building identified them as great human beings, great leaders. And the fact that you would bash Aziz Al-Shaair, and like Casario said, he's out there doing charity work too, as this whole thing is going on, like that, you are so out of pocket. I would want 53 Aziz Al-Shaair's on my team.
Oh, yeah, 100%. It reminds me of when the Rockets signed Dylan Brooks a couple years ago. It's kind of the exact same thing where I
would want Dylan Brooks on my basketball team, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point I'm making, is that and the reason that the Rockets are kind of this team now where you'll see, like, a lot of people don't like them because you see, that type of stuff will happen and Udoka will stand up for it. And now you're seeing the exact same thing with the Texans, because D'Amico Ryan stood up for Aziz, Nick Casario stood up for Aziz, and that's exactly what they should have done. I was a little bit nervous when it happened that they weren't going to do that, but I'm unbelievably happy that they did do that, because to me, again, that just proves to me, like, we're not going to be a soft football team, okay? Like, we don't want Trevor Lawrence to be injured, but we're also not going to let you cheat yards on us. And again, we play Kansas City in a couple weeks. If Mahomes tries that fake slide or tries to do that, hit him. I don't care. Hit the guy.
And honestly, now that people have been looking at clips of all that, of Mahomes doing the fake slide, if he does that on national TV, people are going to be bashing Mahomes, not anyone on the Texans, not anyone on the Steelers when they play in their primetime game on Christmas. That's going to be on Patrick Mahomes. And then the league's going to have serious talks about the fake sliding thing. because that's a problem.
And again, I don't like when Caleb did it against the Texans too, where you tightrope the sideline, you try to be like, oh, am I going to go out or not? Try to draw a penalty, and he got hit, right? And that's what I'm saying. If Mahomes tries to do that against the Texans, and it's like Azeez probably won't be playing, but we also have Jimmy Ward, who that guy will hit anything in his sight. And then if you get Christian Harris back for the Kansas City game, that guy's the exact same way. So
Lassiter's going to be on that sideline.
Yeah. So I again, because to me, and honestly, like when you talk about it, either we're gonna not hit the guy and we're gonna let him get 15 yards, or we're gonna hit him and we're gonna take a 15-yard penalty. So I'm gonna take the hit, and you can give them the 15 yards either way. But we're gonna send a message of don't try that shit, and that's kind of what. And that's what I like to see from the Texans. And, and honestly, I think this will be a good thing for the team moving forward. I mean, now you've kind of lit a fire under them a little bit.
Oh, I think so. It's a shame that it's a bye week, honestly. It really
I know. But now you got 2 weeks to sit on it. You got 2 weeks to sit on this.
Yeah, they're looking at the chops.
Yeah, and, like I said, the offense looked better in this game. I'm feeling a little bit more optimistic than I was a couple weeks ago, for sure. And partly because I don't think any of these AFC teams are that dominant. No. I mean, you go watch like Baltimore, and I'm not convinced that Baltimore is going to do anything this year. Buffalo's good, but we also beat Buffalo. And the only thing that would suck is having to play Baltimore Buffalo in Buffalo, which like that would be that has potential to be a disaster for us. But
any team really, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But, Pittsburgh, I'm not afraid of Pittsburgh still. I know they're playing good football. I'm still not afraid of them. And Kansas City is 11-1, but, I mean, is anybody really, are they striking fear into anybody outside of the fact that they just have won a ton? If you go watch that team right now, they don't strike fear into anybody.
If there's any team that want to play on the road in the playoffs, it's the Chiefs, because, you're just like, okay, bring it on. These are the champions.
Yeah.
We know the fans are going to be loud, but, we kind of think they're bums. We already lost a close one earlier in the year to them at Arrowhead. Bring it on. But, yeah, when you go to Buffalo.
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if we go and beat Kansas City and Arrowhead in the regular season, to be honest with you. But
when we go to Buffalo or Baltimore, it just gets a little eerie. I guess that's just kind of the vibe.
And Pittsburgh's a place.
Obviously, they're not going to have to go to Baltimore because Baltimore keeps losing.
Yeah, going to be a wild card.
Dude, I want them to play the Chiefs in Arrowhead in the playoffs, because I like the energy, and hopefully we'll see good energy against the Dolphins, because that could be really deflating too if the Texans do manage to lose a game like that. But it's very possible.
Yeah, I mean, Miami's playing good football right now. They shouldn't be slept on.
You'll see
this week will be an interesting one for this week will be an interesting one for the Dolphins game, because if they lose this one at that point, it's kind of the season is close to over for them. So then it's kind of gets a little bit more dicey, but they're also playing the Jets, so they probably will win.
And the Jets.
So they probably will win that game.
There, Jacob.
But and if Denver beats the Colts, then that's a huge win, because I will and I don't know if we'll do a podcast episode next week after the bye, but I do know that if the Texans win against Miami and the Colts lose to the Broncos, the Texans clinch the division. So if we could just get that out of the way before the rough stretch, that'd be awesome. And I do think Denver is going to beat the Colts with how they're playing good football right now. And I still don't think the Colts are really blowing anybody away. They beat the Patriots by 1. They're not a great football team. So I think that game will be a good. And you get Anthony Richardson against a top defense like that. I don't know if it's going to stick with how he's playing. So I think the Broncos will win that one. And I do think the Texans are better than the Dolphins. But the Dolphins are not a team because, record-wise, they're going to probably be set or 6-7 going into the game. But they're not a team that you should sleep on, because when Tua's been playing, they've played good football.
Yeah, and the roof's going to be closed too. So I mean,
they're good in. Maybe we should get the NFL to ask if we could play in. Can we play the game in Wisconsin or something?
Yeah.
Then I feel like we'll probably have that one.
Yeah. A little bit too easy for us.
Yeah, but the one thing that we can talk about that is a little bit concerning about Miami is you get the linebackers having to play against that against that play action type offense, and I don't know how well they're going to stick. But the linebackers this year have played well pretty much every game, no matter who's out there. Because D'Amico's done a really good job with that. But it also sucks not having Jalen Petrie. That's not great not having him. Hopefully Christian Harris is good together. It makes me feel a lot better if he is, but I don't have a lot of confidence that he's going to play that game. But you should, offensively, Miami defense has played well, but I think offensively you're starting to kind of hit your groove a little bit. It's still some things, but they're playing better football lately, and I think they should win that game. But it's not a game that you can take softly. But you do have 2 weeks to prepare for that game as well. And like I said, the fire's been lit under this team. So
yeah, I mean, hopefully they just simply kind of, when they have that huddle before the game, they just kind of say, all right, everyone's hating on us. We need to win this game. Not for Aziz, but we should think about him too. Like, I want them to just play with a little bit of fire. And then also what you said about the offense, like I'm really just sitting here thinking about it, like the first half offensively was not good.
No, it was not good.
They couldn't run the ball. CJ Stroud got sacked twice, and it was all both his fault.
It was his fault. It was his fault.
Both times. And that's something we haven't even seen. So like what is it? What's going on now? And it's really, really, really concerning. But then at the same time, it's nice to also have a second half where you play better.
Yeah, exactly.
Offensively, now defense, I think they kind of know they're just playing prevent and all of that.
Yeah, I wasn't too frustrated with that.
I'm not going to be as mad about that because I just know that sometimes that's how it goes, and then it's cool to win the game the way they did. Running the ball down their throat on third down too, because a lot of teams pass it there. In that situation with the Texans, the team who couldn't run the ball in the first half, couldn't run the ball for weeks, were able to run the ball for 5 yards and beat the Jaguars in Jacksonville for the sixth year or something in the row.
Seventh in a row and 10 out of the last 11.
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy. Obviously, again, really wish the Texans played in a competitive division with real rivals. They just don't get to have that. But hey, they got this new situation with situation. So the energy is a little bit different. And but the offense, which we can take a look at, both CJ Stroud sacks. I feel like those were concerning with that because we're talking missed touchdown. In my opinion, missed touchdown because you're an NFL quarterback. You're not just a guy typing on Twitter. Come on,
No, are you talking about the one that over the middle of Schultz? That
over
one.
The middle of Schultz.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was bad by.
Missed points by not checking it down. Was kind of baffling to me, honestly.
Yeah, and I credited Bobby Slook after the game, but I think we should do it again because I've been critical of. We've both been critical of him. Everyone's been pretty critical of him. But
two good games in a row now.
Yeah, and I thought the Dallas game was a pretty good game too. So three, right? The Lions game was kind of a good first half, bad second half, but he's definitely getting better. And I thought early on he did a good job, and early on first and second half he did a good job of getting Stroud in rhythm. You talked about that as well. There were some easy throws that he could make, and the sacks were like he said, Ron Stroud. I think he tried to just do too much in certain situations in the first half. But against a bad defense like Jacksonville, just take what they give you and keep moving.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, why would you not want to be in rhythm? Like, why is Stroud wanting to make, especially with what's happened to him this year? Like, just take the 5 yards, even if it's on third down. And I know it was third and long. I don't remember what down it was to the Schultz over the middle.
That was second, I think.
Second down. So, like, just take it. It's okay. I mean, I know you missed that long ball to Tank and all that. That might be frustrating, but you just have to take the yards and stay in rhythm because that stuff builds. It all builds.
Yeah.
And I think you just need to take it at some point. And hopefully that will be the big adjustment from the bye week because what D'Amico has said, the Texans have been beating the Texans.
Yeah.
I mean, you heard the Ravens say that on Hard Knocks as well. Like they'll admit that they're beating themselves, but the Texans are one of the few teams in the league that are truly beating themselves.
Yeah, they are.
With all the injuries. So that needs to be an adjustment of rely on talent when you need need to have talent. Sometimes there's times where you just need to go with the flow, go with the script. Trust your offensive coordinator. He's giving you outlets. Take it. It's that simple.
Yep. And I like we talked about the first half offense, a lot of it was Stroud, and the missed TI I'm not going to blame Stroud for, because that would have been points. But like you said, the sacks were you can't have those type of sacks in that situation, because the first one should have at least been 3. You just throw that one in the flat. We can get the video, but if you just throw it to the flat, you can kick 3, you get points. And I'm sure someone, whether it's Gerard Johnson or whether it's Bobby Sloat, someone told him, just take what they give you, right? It's not a good defense. Just take what they give you. And he did. So, and that's kind of the improvement. All right. That is, it does that. All right. Let's see. Okay. Let me close that. Okay. So here, this is the first sack that Stroud took.
And look, there were some sacks earlier in the year where CJ had to get a sack because literally no one was open and it would have been grounding. But now, because of what happened in the past, Slowick said, okay, I'm going to give you outlet options so that you can either throw it away because there's someone in the area, or you can check it down. And so Slowick is adjusting, and Stroud is the one not adjusting to what his offense coordinator gave him.
Yeah, and this ball needs to be right here, right? When something's open, just throw it to Schultz.
And he looks at the Hank concept. He's like, okay, they settled. They're not open. It doesn't mean run. That means check down.
Yeah. Yeah, ball needs to come out there for sure. And then here, did you post the other miss?
I didn't get to that yet.
All right,
I saw some other people clip it. There's that one guy that took a little screenshot of him. People said, it's such a shame that they let random people get their hands on all 22, which is a fair statement at times. But look, I mean, I think it was pretty blatantly obvious that he just kind of ran away from the pocket and got sacked.
Yeah, went down. Where is it? Let's see. It's down here. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, here it is. 2nd and 6. Mm-hmm. So
an 11-yard sack too. It's not normal at all, by the way.
Here, let's go to the other angle. This one will be better for the here.
Yeah, you can look at the linebacker's eyes, which CJ needs to be paying attention. We have the whole defender there. Just kind of waiting for him to pass. There you go.
He never even looks at it. He's reading this on, you can't really see it, but I believe Nico and Tank are down here. He's reading this. It's not there. But I think he kind of, to me, this one is kind of, I think he just, honestly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think he's just at the point now where, and I think this is kind of why I talked about him settling in a second. I think he's at the point now where his internal clock is just bad. Like, this one to me is just him thinking the pressure is going to be there when it's not.
Yeah. I mean, look, what you need to be
doing, reads it, and he's out.
You're going to snap it. You're going to look left, look middle, look right, and then run. He's just looking to the left. But he's also like moving his feet rapidly. Like, just do this. And your feet don't need to be moving that much to do that too. But his feet are moving so much and his eyes are staying in the same place. That's exactly something that's essentially a bad habit, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is why we talked about it. It's kind of frustrating because this type of stuff he wasn't doing this earlier in the year.
I didn't see this last year. Yeah, no.
Yeah, or even the first 6 weeks of the season, I don't think he did this at all. I think, like I said, it's just a habit he developed because of how poorly the offensive line is played. But here he has plenty of time to hit this. He doesn't even really look at it.
Also maybe step up. And that's a flick of the wrist throw. That's not a far throw too. So people can say, "Oh, he was pressured," but even if he was pressured, you still have time because it's such a short throw. It's a quick.
I mean, also if it'd be a tougher throw, but you could also throw this out to Mixon too when he looks that way. Yeah. So again, this to me, this is an internal clock issue more than a reading the field issue, because I think it's like if his internal clock wasn't bad, you do get to this route, but I think he's boom boom, and maybe he sees Juice fall. I don't know. He probably does. He probably sees Juice fall, and then but he has plenty of time.
Right, very easy for us to say that, but still, like, look, it's not even about the timing for me. It's the lack of pure progressing that he's doing, especially in the red zone too. Like, you can do a left side read from the 50-yard line with like a 2 or 3 man concept. That's probably you. Actually, can we go to the wider sideline view? To see, like, you can't really do that at the red zone. Red zone, you have to be progressing. You have to be hitching. It's just Nico Collins, and then Tank Dell's going to motion over there. It's probably going to be a smash concept. Actually, I don't even love the spacing of that.
That was weird. Because I can actually kind of see, because really that should have gotten open against man, but I don't know what. To me, that's kind of, I don't know what Nico's doing.
It's open if Tank is to the pylon or before the pylon, like the 3-yard line. You have a corner out one-on-one and Nico Collins in the end zone, but Tank goes way too deep.
So to me, it kind of that is, though, he probably also saw that and then he sees Juice falling, probably panics, which granted you can't do in the spot, but that's probably part of it too, because that spacing is absolutely brutal. But it's still this ball has to go to Schultz, and I'm sure over the bye, it's something that they'll talk about, because there's been at least a couple, especially like you talk about in the red zone, where you can't have an 11-yard sack like that in the red zone.
In the red zone and like the edge of field goal range, we've seen that. Now, of course, like I said, that was more because no one was open earlier this year. And then again, that, like you said, they're going to talk about the fact that this play has bad spacing. I mean, you're right. That makes no sense. Like why? That's to the boundary. I mean, the ball. Then you have the OTB to the tight end. Like, it should be a simple concept that just got completely messed up by the spacing. That's a good basic concept, which, like I said, I feel like they were doing basic concepts to make things simpler for everyone, and then this one just gets completely messed up.
Yeah.
And you didn't even see this last year either. Last year, you would probably saw an out route to the 3-yard line that turns into a pivot by Tank and a corner route by Nico, and it would have looked great. But I don't understand why this one just looks so poor. I mean, that just that's an everyone type of problem.
Yeah, because like we talk about, like it's kind of, if you're looking at the left here, this left side, the right side's good. The left side's kind of a disaster. You got Juice on his ass.
When he sees that picture right there, when he sees that picture right there, he should know the spacing is bad and he needs to progress to Schultz or Mixon, because you can't make a throw in that area. He should know. He's staring right at it.
Yeah, and instead of progressing, he just, I think if you watch it, as soon as he sees that, he just looks to run. Yeah,
but he shouldn't be looking to run there. Like, you still have 3 other routes on the field. I mean, that's a cardinal sin of a quarterback to do right there, and that's CJ committed. And that's why you can see like the good throws, but then like it's all about consistency. So I can't say that CJ Stroud is being a good to above average quarterback right now, because it's the lack of consistency that he's been playing with.
Yeah, for sure. And then
we can look at all the passes too if we want to.
I was gonna go to the deep ball at Tank. We can go through more. I was just gonna watch this because I haven't seen it from this angle, but I'm interested.
I don't really think this is an anticipatory throw, if you will. Yeah. I think you do genuinely have to wait to throw because of the cover 3 shell, the deep safety.
Mm-hmm. He does. I will say he does a pretty good job. He kind of looks off the safety, which actually gets it open, because he kind of looks here. And then also, like we talked about, he has to, he probably should have thrown the ball right now. But the problem is that you got this guy coming in and he has to step up and then he throws it, which still, it's open. And like I said, it should have worked because it should have been a pass interference. But also, it's just, that's a muddy pocket to throw from. And a little bit, and like I said, it's just, there's just too much air on it.
Yeah. Also, Mechie really separates well here. You could have thrown that to anticipation to the outside, but he just doesn't. And even Schultz got open there too. So that's why I really feel like the receivers have been separating like for a while. I genuinely believe that they've been separating, and no one can tell me that otherwise. Because they're all good route runners. They really are. Mechie, Hank Dell, Nico, great route runners. And when they're all in the field, you see a ton of separation.
So let's go watch some of these, because there was a couple in the first quarter that I thought were pretty good anticipation throws.
Yeah, like this one was good. This was about, I think it came out towards the head turn by Nico Collins. You kind of have to wait for that one too. You can't necessarily throw that with anticipation because you have
and then there was this one was really good too, and then Stover lined up offside. This one I remember being a great anticipation throw.
Yeah,
unfortunate that it didn't count, but oh my God, he's so far offsides.
I know. I saw that. I was like, wow. Like, how does that even, like, genuinely, how does that happen?
Yeah, I didn't realize he was that far outside.
And then you saw more separation on the outside too by the other guy. I couldn't really see who was on the outside.
Let's go back.
But look, it's just a post and an out, and this is probably versus
That looks like Woods on the outside.
Looks like Woods, but it's versus cover 3, so good job by Slowick or maybe by Stroud to check to it. You want to have these out routes versus cover 3, and then you have the tight end occupying the flat. I mean, look, it's simple things like this that's really all they have to do, and then you still have your superstars. You still have CJ can make his magic, or Nico Collins can burn anyone whenever he wants. Essentially, kind of feels like it at this point. And then, now you have talked a little bit about how Stroud throws his deep balls. It doesn't really seem favorable for the receivers.
Yeah, I think he's kind of it worked for Nico because it's like he just tracks the ball so well. He's a big guy, but when you're throwing him to tank, when you put that much air on it, it's pretty hard for him to make a contested catch like that. So I think it's like an adjustment just depending on who the receiver is. Because when it's Nico, I have no complaints about putting that much air on it. Just trust him. Trust Nico to just track the ball better than the other guy.
Right.
But like I said, when Tank, that's tough for Tank to go up there and make that type of play. And like I said, it should have been pass interference. But this is one that I was talking about where the out of structure stuff looked really good. This is impressive because Mechie's kind of open the entire play.
Mechie does a really good job in space, and that's another underrated thing that he does. He's a good route runner. He's twitchy. He's got a connection with Stroud. Actually, can we go back to the other angle?
Yeah.
Again. I feel like the pocket got a little muddy there, though.
Yeah, it did. It was a long play. He was in the pocket for a long time.
Yeah, you can't really throw that to Mechie.
Yeah, because the DB's there. But like I said, Mechie does a really good job, like you said, on kind of scramble drill type plays. He does a really good job of, just finding the open space and sitting. And you got the good chemistry with Stroud.
Honestly, that play kind of feels like by design to be an off-script thing because you don't really see like a man beater in the play necessarily, and which is kind of cool to see because that CJ Stroud has the ability. Like, look, it's a stopping fade go or by Tank. It's a deep curl kind of comeback out by Mechie. They do eventually have Nico, but I think that's kind of scramble drill too. So that's fine. That's totally fine. And Nico was just kind of not open because of the guy walling
spacing
off.
That's just not the best spacing to get that ball to Nico. But
but look, they all do so well in scramble drill. Tank's open too. He's wide open, so he just really kind of shut it down there.
He is wide open. But this is a good example of what we're talking about where, I think someone told him the pressure is not really getting there. You can go through your progressions. Don't get happy feet because here he hitches 3 or 4 times. He's boom, boom, reset your feet.
Look how he's standing too. That's the kind of the thing he should have been.
And that's what I'm talking about. I think at halftime someone told him the pressure is not. You're thinking the pressure is there when it's not there. Which honestly, I can't blame the guy because of what we've seen so far this season.
This is the second half.
This is either late in the second quarter or third quarter.
So exactly what you said. You can tell, unlike that play on the goal line, that he is hitching.
Boom.
His feet are look how smooth his feet are.
Yeah, it's and this is what we saw from Stroud early in the season and all of last year, right? Where it's smooth footwork. And like I said, I'm not going to blame the guy for having happy feet in certain situations because of what we've seen this season. The offensive line has been absolutely brutal, but this is what I talked about. I talked about it in group chats and stuff. When they protect Stroud consistently, I have no concerns about Stroud or the offense because he can operate an offense. It's whether they protect him, and partly because the big reason you got to protect him is because the internal clock, like I talked about. You got to stick in there and make these type of throws, but that's a perfect example of why when he does have the protection, you see him stick in there and make those type of throws. And let's see this one. I don't remember this one, but I mean, this is just
that's
good.
And
good
you don't see anything open initially, but he threw him open with the anticipatory throw. Look at that. That's exactly what you want to do. I remember they were talking about on the broadcast, that's the things that CJ Stroud is capable of with his anticipation. They're absolutely right. And it's not just a quick hitch to anything in space. You're throwing it into the window. And that's the stuff you want to see. That's the stuff we've been missing. And that gives me a lot of hope for the next 3 games.
Yeah, next couple of weeks for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I love this type of, this is stuff that I've been asking about for a while. And then you get Dalton Schultz hurdling, which I don't know why he did that. But I love these type of concepts where you get this, that 1,001, 1,002 release, and it's hard to cover those type of things. And Stroud does a good job because sometimes I feel like in these type of concepts, and we even saw it earlier in the game, Stroud will kind of look downfield too much, try to make a big play. Just take what's there, right? You got Dalton Schultz, just take this there, and you're able to get 11 yards and a first down out of it. So this is the stuff that I'm talking about in the second half that was impressive because it's just simple. It's simple stuff like this that, we hadn't necessarily seen for a lot of this year, or not a lot of this year, but for a lot of recently, you hadn't seen a lot of it. So just take what the defense is giving you.
Yeah, and there's no way they would have lost the Titans game if they had done stuff like this. If they were just keeping it simple, there's no way the Titans would have been able to compete with the Texans. They were just kind of overdoing it. Same with the Jets game. Great example. We saw the outlets. I know Stroud got sacked on that play, but there weren't any outlets. There wasn't anyone open.
No, yeah, that's an in-season adjustment, and that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Bobby Slowick, I've been critical of him, but the last couple of weeks he's gotten better for sure. There's been improvement.
He is going to be the offensive coordinator of the Houston Texans next year, because of how Nick Caserio views him, how Bobby Slowick views him, and how he's showing to adjust. Now, obviously, it's sad that we're talking about this in week 13. It took him that long to adjust.
For sure.
But look at the way we view the AFC. It doesn't really.
No, there's not a lot.
You're gonna have to be hot at the right time at this point.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to have home field advantage for a second playoff game, which the Texans have never had in franchise history. But they'll get there eventually.
Yeah, and this is another example of reading the field well. You got time. You look downfield.
So much better.
Yep. Calm. Just hit your check down. Easy 9 yards, right? And if Mixon drops that, it's not Stroud's fault.
Right. I like that play. I prefer that. I prefer those type of plays all the time because it's a great thing to get the ball to the running back for a gain more than 5 yards. It means you did something right.
Absolutely. I don't remember what this one was. Let's see. Oh, this one of those
play action.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This was a good job by.
Oh yeah.
I like that. This is what I was talking about too. The sideline ball. You get a little stutter.
And you still have the Stroud magic along with the basic. Now this is a basic concept, of course.
Yeah, with that's what we're talking about. Is that the basic concepts they work? They
really do work.
We've talked about it. Just don't put as much stress on your interior. You can get these type of boots because really, if Nico's not open here, you just throw it to Stover, right? And he sees Nico the whole way, so you get it to Nico. But if that's not open, you just throw this out to Stover. You can get 5 yards on first down. And even in this game, the reason the Texans' early down offense improved was the run game's part of it too, obviously. But a big part of it is on early downs, we're just going to throw a screen to Nico or something like that, where you just get the ball in your best player's hands, right? And you let him work in space, and you're able to get Tunsil out there in space, which I have my complaints with Tunsil because of penalties and stuff, but he's a very athletic tackle and he's a very good tackle. So you get him out in space, it's going to go well for the most part. I don't know what this play is.
We'll say play action boot. Probably
it looks weird because like it just looks bizarre. I don't know. Maybe it's just because Titus isn't blocking anybody. It looks pretty weird to me. Like he gets way far out. I don't know.
Now that is really, unfortunately, that is definitely a bad call because you shouldn't have your two primary routes ending in the end zone. That's asking a lot when you have guys dropping to the end zone. There's like no window for Stroud to throw to Nico. I mean, you see the leverage too. I mean, that's just.
But again, this
really
is
tricky.
Yeah, this is good quarterbacking though. There's nothing there.
Yards, yeah.
You just take whatever's there, and you get out of bounds. Don't take hits, right? You just get out of bounds. You take 3 yards, and they don't end up converting it, but you're able to set yourself up in a situation where there's at least a decent shot that you can do something. I don't remember this play either. Oh, I do remember this. This is a good ball by Stroud. Good anticipation here.
I don't remember that one either, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I was getting something to eat or something, and then I came back and saw it. So, but good anticipation.
Yeah, I think that ball is really just out the top of the stem before he goes out. So
yep. And actually, I will say, I want to give credit to this. Could have been a hold, I guess, but I want to give credit to Cade Stover because he's been a lot better lately. He was kind of thrown into the fire because of the Brevin injury, but I think he's played really well lately. He's not the best blocker, but he works really hard blocking. And, as a receiver, he's doing the little things that you want to see from your tight ends. So he's been a bigger piece of the offense than I expected coming into the year for sure.
You're right in a way, I guess. I think there's not really much we can ask for from Cade Stover.
I just wasn't a big Cade Stover fan when we drafted him. It's
just, to me, the situations they put him in sometimes don't make sense based on his skill set. Like, he's a scrappy blocker, but he's not like a one-on-one blocker that you want to get on an edge or a linebacker. You got to put your scrappy guys in situations where they can help. Like you saw there, where he's just helping.
This is a great example of the adjustment that was made in the second half from Stroud, right? So obviously the guy's wide open. It's not an impressive throw, but the progression is impressive because Schultz is the last read on this play, or I guess maybe the check down's the last read, but he's the last progression in the actual route concept. And if you watch his eyes and his feet, he looks Nico first on the outside, and then you hitch here. You get there. Once it's coming, you look middle.
Yeah, and that's a quick hitch too. He was flowing in rhythm.
And that's really impressive because he knows the blitz is coming there. You see it, and so in the first half you kind of saw the panic. You see the happy feet, which you don't see here. So really impressive. Well, an impressive adjustment. Obviously, that's the stuff that we're used to seeing from him, but an impressive adjustment from half to half. From Stroud, like I said, either Gerard or someone was in his ear telling him there's not pressure there. You can settle in. You don't have to, try to make an insane play against this type of defense. So nice to see.
Yeah, I feel like the play after, or like when they got off the field after that goal line sack, I feel like they probably sat down and looked at the film, and because they have access to that immediately. And it's not even really about, Schultz was open. To me, it's more about the lack of progression and how messy his feet were. Like CJ, just calm down. What can we do to make you comfortable? But also know that we're going to set you up too and just progress and you'll be fine. You're not getting pressured. These 2 sacks.
They're on you.
They're on. They might have said it was on you. I don't know how nice.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they said that, but they were on Stroud.
But they were on him. They were not on. It wasn't on Shaq Mason. It wasn't on the usual Juice Scruggs. No, not at all. It's sad that they even got credited with pressures, honestly, for that.
Yeah. Well, and I do think PFF does a good job. They don't count a lot of sacks. They're like they don't always count. They track who the pressures are on percentage-wise, like if it's on the quarterback and stuff. So that's a good job.
I think Mason got credited with the sack, though, which
it sucks for him. And then actually, on 3rd and 10, this is a nice concept. I know they get 9.5 pretty much, but I like this concept a lot from Slowick. And then again, here this is a minimal complaint. but I would like to see them get up to the line and at least not necessarily go for it, but I would at least like to see them try to hard count Jacksonville.
I have not seen them do that often, but you see other teams do that all the time. That's just a quick thing they kind of need to start adding in.
Because they didn't do it against the Titans on that 3rd or 4th and 1, and then they end up taking a penalty and punting. Just get up to the line and try to hard count and see, because a lot of times if you like the Texans don't run a lot of sneaks, but if you get into that type of sneak formation, you see a lot of times where defensive linemen try to just jump it because they can't stop. If it's half a yard, it's hard to stop a sneak. You kind of have to time it perfectly, and so they try to time it perfectly. But in that situation, you're probably not going for it anyways because you're up 11. So at least try, and then this is, it's just drop it. Sucks,
also, we've seen a lot of teams do a sneak from the 39-yard line because the touchback.
Yeah, I wouldn't have an issue if they go for it.
I think they need to start doing that, but they have yet to do a quarterback sneak with CJ Stroud.
Maybe since that Denver game,
something unique. This is when it's okay to be different and unique. Like, you see Penn State have their little package on 4th down. You see the Eagles have their back. The Bills, they do a little bit different of a tush push. It's okay to be different. You see Michigan with the 3 backs on short down situations. They need to. That's where they're missing.
Gotta have something
physical.
Like
they're physical on defense with their identity on defense. They're a physical on defense, their identity, but they're not on offense, and so it just gives you a little bit of a poor vibe, if you will. I'd love to see them draft like maybe a Tyler Warren and get a package. Tyler Warren on 4th down, and then you kind of have an identity in Houston. That's why I would advocate for someone like that, just to have a little bit more of a philosophy to those kind of things. Like, we're going to run the ball down your throat. We're gonna do a tush push down your throat. We're gonna be aggressive, like the Lions go on 4th down all the time. Like, stuff like that is what the Texans are missing from their identity. Outside,
and this is when we're talking about 4th and 1. You're going for it on your 50. Like this is a normal go for it spot. But I like this type of thing because this is one of my favorite play calls from Slowick the entire season. Where we're such a physical run team. You get. Right, we get to the line quick. You get a little quick motion. Boom, it's easy, right? You get a cut block. That's easy stuff, and that type of stuff is what you want to see on 4th down because, like I said, they're such a physical run team. They try to run the ball on early downs. They try to run the ball, situations where they probably shouldn't be running the ball. So you can get these type of boots like this against linebackers that are going to play aggressively, and especially against a team like Jacksonville where there's not a lot of discipline there. Those linebackers are a lot of rookies, a lot of guys that maybe haven't seen these type of looks. So that type of stuff, this is actually early on in this game, there was a lot of stuff that I wish they would kind of do more of. Hold on, let's go back. Because I remember where was it? They had this play for Mixon, I want to say, that I thought was pretty cool. Where is it? Let's find this, because this type of stuff, again, early downs, the idea should be getting the ball in your best player's hands, but not necessarily just always. It should be like there should be creative ways to do it too, because a lot of times these dives and stuff, they just don't block it well enough. But this type of stuff, right? You get both the tight ends in motion. You put Nico in the backfield, and then you just get it out to him on the outside, because clearly the interior is the weakness on this football team. So if you can get him outside and get these guys moving to the outside, that's a huge benefit to the offense. I mean, if you can put less stress on the interior, that's exactly what you want to do. So this type of stuff, and I think it's harder to do it when we haven't seen. I guess the last couple of weeks we've seen them, but it's only been a couple of weeks now where you've seen Nico and Mixon healthy, who are probably your 2 best offensive weapons. Even before Diggs got hurt, Diggs was probably the 3rd guy. Like, Mixon's been amazing this year. So that type of stuff I kind of want to see more of, because just try to get the ball in your best guy's hands any way possible. And the Texans did a really, really good job of getting the ball to Nico Collins early down this week. Just quick screens. We can actually go to that. But like these quick screens, Nico seems to always get good yards on them. And then you see there's also a ton of examples of him being literally 1 tackle away from just breaking completely. Where, at some point, he's going to break those.
Yeah.
Like, at some point, he's probably going to break one of these, and you're going to get a huge gain.
Like on
And
that
I mean, he did it against Dallas.
The touchdown in Chicago, like no one was going to bring him down there. I mean, he's running full steam. He's tall. He's big. He's strong. I mean, it's great.
Yeah, and I mean, you see it like I said against Dallas is a perfect example. I know it didn't count, but that type of stuff you can see. It'll work. You get him. I think this is a screen. Yeah, it is. It's a perfect example. You get Tunsil in space. You get Juice gets a pretty decent block. Woods is a good blocker, right? The idea is just get your best lineman and your best receiver in space on early downs, and it's effective. Tunsil probably could have been called downfield here too, but he wasn't.
Yeah, one thing I will say is that we talked about how they're doing basic stuff. Now they can add some eye candy, like you see the Dolphins, the Niners all the time. The eye candy does not affect the offense's progression or how they run the play. It affects the defense.
It's just to distract the defense.
Distract the defense. So if they start doing that, like you saw, Nico Collins was lined up at running back. We saw Diggs lined up at running back earlier.
Yeah.
Stuff like that they can do more often. That's why I'd miss like a Brevin Jordan and a Diggs too, because maybe they would have done a little bit more creative with them. They don't necessarily have gadget guys, but also just having eye candy and getting guys into space is something they can do a little bit better, actually a little bit. Now they do a lot of motion, I get it. And they didn't do as much motion. It didn't feel like they did as much motion against Jacksonville, in my opinion. Might be wrong there. They could up it again. I think now that you have like that installed, because they, like you said, they're doing the offense been a little bit different week to week. You have the easy stuff installed. So now Slowick build off of that, and you can still run that easy stuff, but it's just harder for the defense to stop.
Yeah, so here I want to go. Overall offense, they were fine, but I kind of am interested to see how well they played in the second half because it felt like second half offense was really efficient in both areas. Let's see. So fifth, right? So drop back, they were 12th. Not amazing, but pretty good. And then second in rush, right? So, we can, if you want to look at just early downs, which it's been their struggle for the most part this year. They've been bad on early downs. They were, 16th, which not great, but if we want to go to second half again, which was really what was encouraging to me because the second half offense has been so brutal for almost all the entire year. It's sixth, right? They did a really good job on early downs, and there was a couple drops. Like the Nico one would have been nice on that. But you can't. There's not a lot of complaints. Oh man, that's pretty brutal. 0-0. You didn't have one successful run in the second half. A couple teams. It's not great, but they did a good job on early downs of doing things well, getting the ball to your playmakers. Let's go ahead and get to the mailbox. We only had the one from my guy Cal, but let's go ahead and get into that.
Trevor Lawrence is out for the season officially.
Oh, actually?
Yeah, his concussion. So
he probably wasn't going to play this year anyways, the rest of the year. Even if the concussion, he probably could have, but let's see. Yep. All right. So team played better in the final score indicated. Agreed. We talked about that. The defense kind of went prevent late in the game. Offense was great. I think the offense, I think we kind of talked about this. I think the offense was great in the second half. The first half was kind of.
Yeah, I just didn't really like the way it operated. And now it starts with CJ, but also the run game. It was kind of just funny listening to the announcers in the first half. Daryl Johnston, first of all, the comments he made about Azeez Al-Shaair were out of pocket. Especially as a former NFL player, I was disappointed to hear that. But also, the confusion between him and his buddy about why the Texans weren't running the ball. They were talking about
that was so weird. Yeah, that was.
And then the Texans ran the ball after they were talking about that, and they lost 3 yards on that exact play. So that was a little confusing to me. But also, again, they just couldn't run the ball in the first half. To me, it's just kind of a personal thing by some of the players. They just didn't choose to play hard enough just to block a guy.
Yeah, agreed.
It just kind of looks soft. Like I said last week, sometimes you'll see a lot of pad and go from these guys.
Yeah,
Straight up.
Agreed. And they were better in the second half for sure. And
but
that's
also
what I kind of wanted to see.
Part of me wants to know what Chris Strausser says, just kind of behind the scenes. Because if y'all saw Hard Knocks, like I think it was the Browns offensive line coach, like that guy is fiery. He's cursing every 5 words. He's energetic. Like that would get me to want to go hit someone. It just kind of feels like the Texans don't want to go hit someone on offense sometimes.
Yeah. I honestly, I do think Slowick will stay, but I don't think Strausser is going to be here next year, which won't upset me whatsoever. Because, like I said, I think Slowick has done good things this year, and it's not all bad. Like I said, good things have happened. There's been bad, but also it's pretty hard to function when you can't run the ball and your offensive line can't protect. So, how much can you rely on Slowick? I don't know.
Too. Like we saw Tennessee shut down the cutbacks, you can't do that. You can't rely on cutting back. Mixon will be able to find the gaps by just running, straight up and to the left, straight up and to the right, running wide zone and navigating. He doesn't have to cut back. He's good at it because he kind of we said, he gallops like a horse. He's got those long strides. He's able to do it. He can also be a regular running back too. And I think Slowick kind of wants to do that, but he knew his offensive line. He literally knew his offensive line could not block head up. And so he had to do cutback for about 4 weeks until Tennessee shut it down and exploited it. And they didn't do it against Jacksonville.
Yep, for sure. Agreed. All right. And then protection was good. Play calling was good. That's what we talked about. I agree with that. Like I said, if anything, the first half offense was a mixture of, not getting the PA call, and then Stroud just taking some bad sacks, not necessarily taking what was there, having happy feet in some situations. So I completely agree with that. Slowick set up the run with the pass and adjusted nicely in the second half, as we've talked about. Defense was good until D'Amico took his foot off the gas and Aziz was ejected. Yeah, I thought they were fine after Aziz got ejected too in the third quarter. They just kind of.
I think that's fair. I would love to know. I don't think anyone asked D'Amico about the fourth quarter defense in his.
I don't think so.
Which is a little.
I don't think anybody really cares about the defense at this point. We all kind of know that they're good, so we're more focused on the offense, I guess. But
okay, now what if you play when you're playing a high-powered offense in the Dolphins?
That's true.
A high-powered offense in the Ravens and the Lions. You let your foot off the gas.
That's true. That's true.
And then you lose games. So
no, I agree. I don't like that they do that too, but I think people are just more concerned about the offensive play at this point. So. But I would like to see D'Amico stay more aggressive in those type of situations. All right, some topics to talk about. Is Derek Stingley Jr. first team All-Pro? Well, what do you think, Drew?
So it would just be him and Surtain, right? I mean, who's the second?
It could be Denzel Ward. He's played really well this year, but I think him and PS2 probably would be.
I think he'll be All-Pro. I mean, was there only 2 or 3? I think it's only.
I think it's 2 and then a nickel. So I mean,
two All-Pro teams, right? Like the second team All-Pro.
I think so. Yeah, honestly, I don't really know how it works. We haven't had an All-Pro in 5 years. It feels like so. Kind of.
I'm thinking about the NBA. There's only one All-Pro.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
There's only one
I don't know
All-Pro
I don't know how the All-Pro teams work, to be honest with you. But
they don't care if you win or lost games as an All-Pro player. So it might be Denzel Ward, but it's gonna be Surtain and someone else. At this point.
Yeah, but I do think Stingley has the advantage because I think if you look at it statistically, like I said, I think if you watch
honestly, you're right.
Worse than the statistics
of passer rating, and I think what was it, maybe yards allowed was actually really good by Stingley. I don't even know what Ward.
Yeah, he's number 1 currently in passer rating when targeted.
Which that's even better than the interceptions, really.
I mean, 100%. Like I said, I think the film kind of is a little bit worse than the stats will suggest, but I'm sure the people that are voting on this are looking at the stats more than all the film. So I think he'll probably get it.
Well, the film would show that he's probably a more talented player than Ward, and he's being.
Oh yeah, he is 100%. He is.
So I don't think that would get him out of help.
I think he'll get it. Here, I actually posted some of the stats from Stingley earlier. Let's see. Yeah, so he's first in reception percentage, second in PBUs. He's fourth in interceptions. I messed that up. He's first in passer rating when targeted. He has five different games this year where he's allowed 10 yards or less. Pretty impressive stats from Stingley so far this year.
I won't say he's tied for 10. In the comments, won't say he's tied for 10.
Oh yeah, it's because I just did it off corner. So because I'm looking at it like all pro wise, so I don't care what the safeties have interception wise. And then actually, what was funny is that number 2 in reception percentage is Kamari Lassiter.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're both up there. So
yeah. And then if we go, so here we go. If Harris returns, which linebacker would you play onside him?
I would play To'oTo'o.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, we talked about this. I would play To'oTo'o too. I think the run defense aside Harris would be really valuable.
Yeah.
I think you can mix in some Neville Hewitt maybe if you want, but I don't think Devin White. Devin White may get cut when Harris comes back because they kind of are similar players, except Christian Harris is just a lot better.
I thought that's what the plan was. I don't know if you want to get rid of like a Jake Hansen, like he's been here for so
or Delshon Phillips is still here.
And like he's on 8 play those special teams. Like I don't think you want to get rid of those guys necessarily.
I feel like Devin White will be the guy.
I saw Jordan Pun Texans thoughts. He does not believe that To'oTo'o will be playing alongside Harris because he's not a Mike, and they tried to play him at Mike last year. But I don't think D'Amico necessarily views it as like a Mike kind of the situation.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Like best players on the field, especially on third down. Definitely the best player on the field. I think you literally saw him try to put Jeff Okudah on the field because he thought he was a talented player. And we've seen stuff like that. So I don't think D'Amico views it like that. I mean, he's a linebacker too. He should understand, if anything. And then Hansen and Hewitt played because they had to play because of injuries.
Yeah,
it wasn't a choice. They had to play. There's no.
Yeah. And the only guy like To'oTo'o did get benched in that Dallas game for Devin White, but it doesn't make sense to play Devin White next to Christian Harris. That just doesn't make a lot of sense.
And then they really put Devin White in like a role of blitzing and covering running backs.
He's good at that.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
Great.
And then
Dream
free agent acquisition is an interesting one.
Yeah.
I don't really know the free agency class that well. The one guy that I've just talked about is James Daniels, the Steelers guard that's going to be a free agent. I'd love to get him. Kevin Zeitler would be another one. Javon Holland would be awesome, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'm going to have to, I'd have to look up the free agency class. I am not sure.
I'm looking right now.
Like James Daniels would be the one for me that would stick out the most, but I don't necessarily know. I mean, would bringing back Diggs count? He's probably not my dream signing, but I would like to have Diggs back.
Yeah, I definitely want to have Diggs back on a 2-year deal. That's what I would look for.
I don't know. Everyone seems to like Budda Baker. He'd be okay. He'd be a cool signing. I mean, bringing Justin Reed back.
I think I don't know how he's. That's a too high safety. Yeah. That'd be.
He wouldn't be a horrible signing. I mean, I don't think adding a safety is a bad idea because the safety room's kind of, it's an older room. I do like Eric Murray, but I don't think he's a starting caliber player. And with how Jimmy Ward's injury history goes, I think they do need to add another starting caliber player in there. I mean, there's some other free agent safeties too. Like I said, Javon Holland's an interesting one for sure. I mean, Andre Sisco, Jaguar safety could be kind of interesting if you wanted to add another guy that hits guys late. There you go. Cause some more controversy.
I was gonna say maybe DJ Reed. If you really want to have a good slot or good physical outside corner, and then you
could also move. You can move Lassiter inside if you wanted to. Run a lot of dime.
I just think if they really want to run cover 3 Kalen Bullock up top, then you don't really have to worry about. And then you're just having Petrie and Bullock.
Yeah.
Also 3 really good coverage corners, and you're having your.
Yeah, I mean, you could also add a guy like a Carlton Davis or Mike Hilton's a free agent. Which if you just want a straight nickel, a cover nickel, that could help. I don't know if he's any good anymore though. I haven't watched a ton of Bengals games this year. He used to be a pretty good nickel.
He's just kind of a veteran presence at this point. Really, it feels like. I mean, we kind of all know that.
So, I think free agency wise, I would, like I said, my dream one would be James Daniels, just because I think you could get a really solid guard who's not very old. Still, he's like 27, 28. I know he's coming off an injury, but he was having a great year before the injury. So bring him in, and then you could draft a guard. You could sign another guard for cheap. You could, I don't know what you would do with the other guard spot, but there you go. You at least have one of the guard spots locked down, along with Jared Patterson, who's going to play somewhere in the middle. Definitely would help.
I really have no idea if they're gonna get rid of Shaq Mason or not. Yeah, honestly,
I know. I'm like,
I'm not.
I'm just gonna like tell myself they're gonna do it until they don't, because I find it hard to believe they're
not
gonna
do it. Mad about. I don't know if it's worth even getting mad about. Honestly.
Yeah, I'm not gonna think about it till the off season, but I will get pretty upset if they don't do it in the off season. I won't lie, because that guy is making way too much money for how poorly he's playing.
It's a bad contract, but at the same time, he's been on the team, and everyone seems to like him, and you kind of want that continuity with the offensive line. So it just kind of feels like a guy you would keep, and it's kind of unfortunate, but just
maybe you just restructure it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's Casario does that all the time.
Yeah,
one player I would consider too would be BJ Hill, the defensive tackle.
Okay, yeah.
I guess he's getting paid a decent amount of money already, but he's just such a good run stopper. So, of course, the Texans rotate the defensive line, and it's just been so good. So productive. It's crazy that it's come to this. We never thought this was going to be the situation. Like, the weakest position group is defensive line. Nope. Interior defensive line. Nope, not at all. It's very good.
Been the best. Been the best group.
Exactly.
Easily. All right, random thing from Cal. Which Texans player gets you the most hype when they make a play? That's an interesting one. I know for Cal it's Christian Harris, so I can answer that for him. I know it's Christian
Harris. To be for me. It absolutely used to be.
I don't know who it is. I honestly think it's Aziz, which like I really think it's him, because just the energy he plays with, I just love it. Jimmy Ward gets me pretty hype. No, actually, Jalen Petrie is a really good one too. Petrie, like because he's just a little dude, goes in there, hits somebody. It's pretty fun. It's got to be a defensive guy though. It's like offensive.
I was gonna say Brevin Jordan.
Okay, I could see it. Brevin, I think.
He's too. You'll know that.
Yeah, that's true. Brevin's a good one. I mean, Nico has a celebration that I like, but it didn't really get me that hype when he makes a play, unless it's like a massive play.
Yeah.
Trying to think. I mean, John Mechie for a while was one of those, just because you just wanted to see Mechie make plays because of what he's been through. But I think for me, I think it's Aziz. Aziz making plays is so exciting to me. I don't know. I just love the energy he plays with. Awesome guy to watch. I mean, sucks he's suspended, but like we talked about, I don't have an issue with it. I think the suspension was too long, but I don't have an issue with the penalty that he took whatsoever. So,
like I said, I would have 53 Aziz Al-Shaair's.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's just it. That's why it was so sad to see the way the fans reacted, the way the messages they sent him, hating on his religion, and stuff like that.
That's so messed up. I get being frustrated, but that's so messed up. I just.
And then to take and to also to kind of disagree with the stuff D'Amico said. Like, I don't think D'Amico said anything wrong. I really don't.
I don't think so either. Well, I mean, when you go look at it, it's funny because you go look at it, and almost any former player is like, yeah, it probably shouldn't have happened, but it's also partly on the quarterback to protect yourself. Like every former player has said that. You got Richard Sherman saying it. You got Tom Brady. Almost any guy that's played any position. Joe Thomas talked about it too. So to me, you see. It's Jacksonville and just like Twitter people that are like, that's a dirty hit, suspend him for the year. When in reality, you get any guy in the NFL or that has played in the NFL, or like D'Amico played linebacker in the NFL, right? He's been in that situation before. And even, Aaron Rodgers got on the Pat McAfee show and was talking about it, where as a quarterback, you have to protect yourself. That's because, like, to me, if people that say he didn't slide late, if he didn't slide late, his head wouldn't have bounced off the turf because his head would have been down. So he clearly slid late, and obviously Aziz probably could have done more to avoid him. I'm not necessarily saying it's definitely a penalty, right? Like, I'm not gonna say it's not a penalty, but it's also not a hit that like is unheard of in the NFL. It happens. That type of stuff happens.
One last thing about Trevor Lawrence is that I think on film there has been times where he will try to run through contact, and
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
that's where like a Russell Wilson, he'll slide really early. You don't have to worry about him breaking tackles. So
oh well, I mean,
when
even
you're
if you
watching
even
film
just
and the scouting, and they will like we had scouting reports when even in high school football of player tendencies. That is on the paper. I guarantee you, it has something to do with
100%.
what Trevor Lawrence and what he'll do with the ball in his hands when he's scrambling. It will say not necessary. It probably will say something like not necessarily looking to slide. He will try to get extra yards. So that's why Azeez last year was going so fast. He didn't want to slow down, just try to wrap him, hold him up with high pad level. No, he had to get low. He had to make a regular tackle like he was going for a running back, and then all of a sudden he slides. It happens really, really fast. And he's a good hitter too, so he can lay the wood. And that's what happened.
Yep. And there's even clips that I've seen now of like Trevor Lawrence mic'd up where he talks about how he loves the contact, loves being hit, right? And like, so I'm sure you see that type of stuff. And as a defender, I'm not going to let this guy get extra yards because also, to me, for the like he didn't slide late crowd, the problem is that if he didn't slide late, where if you're showing me the picture where he started his slide, but they marked him 2 yards forward, he didn't start sliding there because they mark you down where you started the slide. He got almost to the first down because he didn't slide. He was like looking like he was going to slide, but he didn't actually go down and start sliding for another 2 yards, whereas Azeez is basically 3 yards away from him. So there's just not a lot you can do there. And I mean, it sucks that Lawrence got hurt, and I hope he's okay. But I'm not going to blame Azeez for it. I don't think it's his fault. I mean, and I'm not saying it's Trevor Lawrence's fault either, but I don't think Azeez should be blamed or should be suspended for 3 games for it.
I think a lot of players would have been flagged on that play just because you contacted the quarterback when.
Flag. I mean, like I have no issue with the flag being thrown. I think
Jake Hansen would have been flagged on that play.
Yeah, and I have no issue with Jacksonville fighting over their quarterback. Like that type of stuff. I have no issue with. I have no issue with transpired on the football field. I have zero issue with it. Like Azeez trying to hit the quarterback, he hits him late. It's a penalty. That's fine. Jacksonville backs up their quarterback. Our guys fight back. There is absolutely zero part of me that is upset about what happened then. I am upset about the suspension and how long it is because that feels ridiculous when you see quarterbacks get hit on slides all the time. But hopefully we get a game back. You get appealed. It would be awesome to see him lead the team out on Christmas Day against Baltimore. That'd be awesome.
Oh my God, chills. Yeah,
I know. I hope it goes back to 2 because I would love to see that. I think that'd be awesome to see him come out of the tunnel, lead the team out. NRG would love him, or they do love him. Yeah. That'd be awesome. So hopefully we get that. Anything else you want to add, Drew? I think we've kind of gone in depth talking about everything.
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right.
Good offensive analysis today.
Yep.
We saw a lot of progress. I'm really excited to see if we see like the same mannerisms from CJ in the next game from that.
Second half. Yeah. I completely agree. That second half was probably the best half of football he's played, or the most clean half of football. Because
it wasn't like flashy. It was just clean.
Yeah. No, right. The most clean half of football he's played in a while.
And when you get in rhythm like that is that's when you throw for 400 yards. That's when you throw for 500 yards. Like the Buccaneers game, he was just such in rhythm the entire time.
And honestly, what was funny in the Tampa Bay game, we can talk about, I didn't think in the first half he was in rhythm. He missed some throws in the first half in that game, which was like he missed a deep ball to Tank that could have gone for 7.
Though. That's kind of
But I was just saying in the second half, like he had that 1-0. I don't think he missed the throw the rest of the game. Like I mean, it was like he hit the 1, and there's just like certain level of confidence that you build. Because honestly, I will say the Tennessee game, there was definitely mistakes mixed in there, but I didn't ever feel like it was like a footwork or a internal clock problem with the mistakes. They were just bad throws. But that was a game where that was also like a complete gunslinger game. He was making some ballsy throws in that game. Where in the Jacksonville game, he didn't do it because he didn't really have to do it. But if you can kind of combine the two, if you can combine the Tennessee game with the second half in the Jacksonville game, that's what we saw the first 5 weeks. That's exactly like you can. Right. And we talked about it where like there was a stretch where he wasn't showing any flashes of really being this top quarterback. He is now. right? Like you're seeing a lot of the good moments. Like this was a good anticipation game. He threw with good anticipation, especially the second half. So just build on that. You get this bye to kind of regroup yourself as an offense where you're playing much better football now. So regroup yourself, come out against Miami and play good football because their corners are not very good. You can go attack. I mean, I like Storm Duck's name, not a great corner though. But like always, we appreciate y'all tuning in. I don't know if we're gonna do one next week, maybe a little short one because bye week, but excited for this last stretch of the season. We've talked about this stretch for a while. This is really when the Texans can prove a point. Go beat Miami, and then if you split against Baltimore and Kansas City, you look competitive in both games, people will start taking you more seriously than they were earlier in the year. So definitely an exciting time, and we appreciate all the support y'all have shown, and we will see y'all next time.